Do you have anything else you want to share
One
on that?
more,
Great.
and this is my pet peeve, but this is about, it's not my pet peeve, but this is, some authors who maybe are listening have heard me say this, but titling, this is random. Titling books. Here's what I want authors to think about when it comes to their book's title. We always strive, and we want authors to always strive to be clever and clear. That a good title is clever and clear. But always be clear. If you can't be clever, be clear. And related to that is the title and subtitle of a book doesn't need to carry the full weight of the book's meaning or story. It's a billboard. It needs to be attractional. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be intriguing. It needs to give somebody some idea of what the book's about, but it doesn't need to carry. So I've gotten very long subtitles that try to say everything that the book is, and it doesn't have to do that. So be clever and clear if you can, but always be clear. And the title and subtitle don't need to carry the full weight of the book's meaning. Your publishers will love you if you understand those two things.
That is good. And that is golden. Wonderful. Well, that is that marketing, all of that marketing expertise you shared, that was a gift. Thank you. I want to spend a few moments talking about a group of people that in some ways are a little bit secretive if an author isn't paying attention. And yet this team is really important. So let's talk about sales for a moment. The sales team. What role does the sales team play? And how do authors leverage the power of that sales team? And are there mistakes that authors, even the established ones who are listening, are there mistakes that they need to avoid so that they are not hampering what's going on with the sales team or even the marketing team? Give us something.
I love this question because you're absolutely right. The sales team plays such a critical role. There are things that authors can do to both help leverage the power of the sales team, but there's also mistakes that can happen. You may laugh or chuckle when I say this. This is going to be random. There's going to be some things they can do to leverage and some mistakes, and hopefully it'll be clear. I think the biggest help that an author can give their sales team is to have realistic expectations. Your sales team wants to sell as many books as possible as they can in as many channels and as many formats as they can. And like most publishers, Kregel has the ability to get a book distributed across all channels, all formats. Kregel, if you're a publisher worth your weight, you better be able to deliver that, and you better be able to promise that wherever books are sold, we can get your book. That's not the issue. But what I mean by realistic expectation is, that said, most books aren't going to land in a Target. They're not going to land in a Sam's Club. I'm sorry if that is if God has put that on your heart, that your life will be made if your book is. Now, Target Online will carry it, but that doesn't mean they're carrying the book. But I know you want your book to be in Target. I know you want that so much, and that's your dream. But in all likelihood, most books are not going to land at Target or Sam's Club or Costco or in some of those places. So just realistic expectations about what are the right channels, where should my book be going, and just, and feel free to ask your sales team. Well, I'll tell authors what we're doing, but just that's probably number one, is just have realistic expectations. On the more positive side, how they can help a sales team, I would say do the little things in your community that can make a difference within your community. It does, and where an author lives and what we can do within an author's community and in those bookstores in that area, actually, we can do some things, and it can matter. So I tell authors to just think about the little things you can do in your own community and some general ideas. Establish a relationship with your local bookstore. if you're an author, and that could be a B&N. I mean, B&N's one of their new strategies is they are letting more of the local level order books with local authors. So, but it doesn't have to be. But get to know your local bookstores. Tell them who you are. Befriend the manager. Shop there. Local bookstores in general love to support local authors. Tell them about your book. If you're getting published by a publisher, offer to sign copies when it comes out. Direct your fans and followers there.
I stopped by a Barnes and Noble at Christmas time. B&N, for those listening, is Barnes and Noble, and I just introduced myself, and she said, "Oh, we've got some of your books in my Stronger Than Stress book," and she's like, "Would you like to sign them?" And I'm like, "Does a dog like water?" And so I just signed them off. They put the little stickers on them, but they were so open and just said, yes, we truly want authors in the area to come and to let their people know. And I just thought that was super cool. So the sales team loves it when your authors go in and do that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of them. The other, might be for some people hard to do. I don't think that's hard to do, but just, you can help. And if you get to know them and then they hear you have a book coming out, they'll be more, predisposed to say, come. And who knows, they might say, hey, will you do an event for us? Right. I mean, those kinds of little things do matter. And it's something an author can impact directly that a publisher can't.
Great.
Let me just say, I've got maybe two more, but one more for sure, which is, here's something I've actually discovered too, which is, again, you can't, so when publishers launch a book, it starts with what's typically called a sales conference. And it's where the marketing and the publishing team is introducing the books on the next list to their sales team so that their sales team is equipped to go out and sell it. And one of the things I found, it's not all authors all the time, but when an author can either, a lot of sales conferences are done online these days, but I found it actually helps when a sales team can actually hear from the author. When a sales team, and that can be live. So, but if you be willing, I guess, and even offer it to your marketing team or your editorial team, hey, what sales conference is my book going to be at? And I'd be happy to put a video together.
Yeah.
To
and what
let
should
them
be
know
in that video? What would a sales team want to hear from an author who has a book coming out? Do they just want to introduce and talk about the passion, or should they talk about their platform and their marketing plan? But like, if it's a 90-second video, what would be most important?
It's kind of what I said earlier is I think the key ones are, I want to hear passion and all that, but our sales team has other materials from us that tell them what the book is about. The passion, what the book's about, all that's good, but it comes back to what the sales team is trying to answer. What they need to help them go out and sell it is, again, who's this for? What problem does it solve? Why are you writing it? It's just what I call them. What are the sales handles I can give? So it's, why am I writing this book? What gives me the credentials to write this book? Maybe it's a book about parenting and I'm both a mom and I'm a therapist or something like that. But, but who I am, but it's who am I trying to reach? What problem does it solve? What's the itch that's out there? And then how am I going? It's really that simple, Barb, is they don't need tons of, energy's great. But ultimately what it comes down to is they're like, I got to break through the clutter of hundreds of other books that are out there on, you name it, on parenting, on, marriage, on bringing up kids, on whatever. So tell me why this book now and why it's unique. What's going to, so anyway, that helps. So I would, in terms of helping the sales team, the request will probably go through your marketing team, but those kinds of videos, people think they have to be over orchestrated and over, it doesn't have to be. It can be iPhone at your desk, on your back porch, because there's something about the personalness of just sort of, here I am on my back porch and I'm just telling you what I think. So it does not have to be sort of choreographed. It doesn't have to be studioed. Just make it, and also last thing, 2 to 4 minutes, keep it 2 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
The time matters. So keep it 2 to 4 minutes. So anyway, in terms of, I've probably gone on too long, Barb, I'm sorry, but how to help is offer to either show up at sales conference or make an author video. Those kinds of things matter. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I appreciate you giving such in-depth expertise. Again, for the vast majority of our audience and authors and whoever on YouTube is watching, we won't have a sit-down conversation with you. And so everything that you're sharing is a generous gift. I've got a couple of extra things I want to talk with you about if you're willing, because it's big. Can we talk about AI for a couple of moments? Is that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So let me just roll with this. It's a big old matzo ball coming here. So first, how do you or how will you implement AI into the workflow at Kregel? And then what do you foresee in the future? And then how specifically is AI impacting marketing and sales teams? Like, that's a lot, but I'd love whatever you want to share.
Yeah, it's there are probably other publishers that are ahead of us. But I would say that even still, I think publishers are still trying to figure it out. Okay. It's still a little bit like the Wild West. It's there's lawsuits. I mean, as we know, there's parts of it that are scary. I will say for us and for Kregel, it's a tool and we are embracing it and we have to embrace it. What we have to do is create really smart policies and protocols for how to use it. And I think that's part of what publishers are trying to figure out, and how to use it in a way that leverages the tool that it is, but also let's talk about copyrights, right? And that we can't give away what is the core of every publishing house, which is the intellectual property, the author's intellectual property. It's the author owns it. We are just caretakers of it because we have the rights to sell it. And so we are embracing it, but we are being very careful about, and have policies about, manuscripts do not go online, right? They do not go online into the outer space. They do not go into cyberspace. That's just basics. So,
you would think, but we really truly find that is a thing because authors are feeding their manuscripts into Chat GPT for proofing, and so do you feel like publishers are going to run into problems because authors are using AI and publishers don't know?
I do. Yeah, I will say. I mean, and if you're an author listening, it's an amazing tool, right? Anybody who's logged on to Chat GPT, you can't believe what it can do. But I would just urge authors, don't load up your manuscript into Chat GPT or pick another one, Gemini, whatever it is. As easy as that sounds, as much as you'd love to, there's too many risks involved, and we already know that. I mean, there are a lot. There's one big one. There's one really big one right now that's going on, but there are others where, where pirated manuscripts have been found. So it's not like Chat GPT is suddenly going to give yours away. But what we found is that then it could get pirated, and then a pirated edition shows up. in the public space, and it's just too big of a risk. I just would ask, please don't do that. Yeah, but that said, in terms of, it's a great tool. Where we are using it mostly these days, I would say is probably on the marketing side. It's a fabulous tool for marketing, a fabulous tool for research, a fabulous tool for even design. Publishers are embracing. I mean, I think you got to be careful for using it exclusively this way, but publishers are embracing AI for cover design. I think it's a great. It is not the end all be all to good cover design, but it can be a start to it at times. And so where I think it is most helpful, and where I think Kregel right now is leaning most into it, is market research and trend analysis, metadata optimization and discoverability. Finding lookalike audiences, right, it's a great way to sort of find lookalike audiences. And then, I mean, I'll call it early stage marketing copy and cover exploration. Early stage marketing copy and cover exploration.
Can you explain what early stage? It's just kind of the idea generation, or the early design. Okay, so you do want your designers to really have that human touch on really shaping that cover concept.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, it's just, especially when you're putting humans on the cover. It's not just humans, but when you're putting humans on the cover, AI does, maybe someday they'll have it, but the AI doesn't have it. And I just don't think, I mean, what was I going to say? I was going to say, it's a tool. I'd say it should, here's the general overriding. I think it should accelerate human insight, but not replace it. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that's the way I want my team to use it, and that's the way that we are using it. I still believe, I mean, AI can crank out some great marketing copy, but it's not perfect. And I still believe in having really good copywriters, and that's what we use. We use copywriters to write copy. We may start with AI. AI may give us some direction or some concepts or things like that, but we need to use copywriters. So that's what I mean by early stage is you might, sometimes humans get stuck. So I'm stuck, or another way to use it is to say, here's what I've got. It's a start. Can you I think it's too long. Can you make it shorter and make it better? But I just think that always needs to be done under the watchful eye of really sharp marketers and really sharp editors. So
that is so refreshing to hear. So refreshing, because we want the human side of publishing to stay human, and AI is great, but I just love that you really have this eye on that it's a tool, but it is not like, it's not the first car leading the train.
Yeah, I'll say this too. Just one last thing on it, Barb, which is, I think it's especially true for Christian publishers, and maybe that's not true, but I think it is. When you talk about the mission that many, I mean, yes, we're a publisher. We publish books just like every other secular publisher, but I just think people can call me old school if they want, but in Christian publishing especially, things like discernment, theology, voice, and authenticity, I don't think that can be outsourced to AI. At least, I mean, you can. I just don't think you should. I think that's where, with Christian publishers in particular, they have to be very careful.
Agreed. Woo, this has been so good. Okay, well, because we have covered so much, I want to wind it down to the last two things. One of the questions I said I wanted to come back to is, would you tell us, at least for where you're at this moment, what are you celebrating at Kregel? And you can answer this any way you want to, whether it's things you're seeing in your team, things you're excited about, but we just love creating spaces to celebrate.
Yeah, thank you. When I've been asked this question before, but it's a good question. I'm really glad you asked it. I describe it this way. I think right now, what we're celebrating is we're looking back but leaning forward. And let me just unpack that. And by way of a celebration, there are things to celebrate by looking back, but we're also celebrating by leaning forward. Your audience may or may not know this, but Kregel is one of only a few remaining smaller independent Christian publishers. We are not owned by a corporate conglomerate, and Kregel's been around for over 80 years. So what that does, what we're celebrating, is we have breadth, we have stability, and we have focus. Our trade and academic divisions together publish between 45 and 60 titles a year. And what that means is we can be selective, and it means that no author gets overlooked. That history, that's what I mean. That history, that makeup of who Kregel is, I celebrate that. That's unique, and I think it's what makes us strong. But we're leaning forward. I talked a little bit about sort of what I've been asked to do as publisher. So I'm also celebrating this. I think there's a bright future ahead for Kregel. I think it needs to be a slightly different future than what it has been. I think we have new leadership, and I'm not just talking about me. We have new, fresh leadership. I think we have a fresh, focused vision for our publishing programs that was needed. And there's also good news out there that you can celebrate. Publishing is still going to be a challenge. The shifting sands, I think Janet called it, of publishing will continue. But in the season that we're in right now, as we kind of look out, B&N is opening new stores. BAM is making a comeback. And people are still reading, and they'll continue to read. And depending on what survey you're looking at, that a younger audience is starting to embrace reading. A new generation of readers, I should say, is embracing reading more, and so there's some things to celebrate on that. So that's what I mean by we're sort of celebrating our history and what that means and why that's important, but we're also celebrating the fact that I think we have a bright new future ahead with some fresh, focused leadership and then vision.
That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, as we close out our conversation today, I want to just end with one final question. So, Mark, if you were talking to a room of authors and you needed to leave them with 2 or 3 final thoughts to help them in their career, what is the wisdom that you would share with them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, immediately, because there's 3 things come to mind. I'll just say it that way immediately. One is write with, sorry if this sounds simple, write with clarity and conviction. Know what you're trying to say and why it matters. We talked about passion in writing, and that matters, but whatever passion an author has needs to also have a reciprocating, real, reachable, viable audience with an itch to scratch. Otherwise, keep writing, but your writing will be a passion. It'll be a hobby. It'll be a hobby, which is fine. A lot of people write for a hobby, but if you want to write professionally, write with clarity and conviction, know what you're trying to say and why it matters, but you have to, as an author, be thinking about who is going to read this and why. So that's number 1. Number 2, we touch on this, Barb, build your platform. Build your audience and get them to trust you, and get them to trust you before you need them, right? So get them to trust you before you need them to buy a book. An audience isn't something you turn to at launch. It's something you cultivate over time. That's sort of so, I just got done right before this call. I was with an author who has an author that we hope to publish. No social media, no email platform. And I just said, but you got a good idea. Start now, start right now. And we can help you building your platform. So anyway, that's that. So build your platform but you do it over time. You don't have to rush, do it right, make it work. Engagement matters. And then this gets, I kind of touch on this also, but I also tell authors, think long-term, don't be discouraged. publishing is often I call it it's a slow burn, not an explosion. Yeah, there are these explosions that happen, and we all love them, but they are so rare. And it's unfortunately it's what everybody focuses on is this sort of anyway, Jesus calling. Everyone's like, I want to be that, and that's just not real publishing. And so those explosions are great when they happen, but just slow burn, not an explosion. Publishing is not about one book. It's about a body of work, a voice, a calling. Be faithful and be writing. Don't be discouraged, and keep at it. I wish publishing was easier than that, but anyway, those are the three things that I usually try to tell authors.
Well, those are the wisdom that we always need to hear, no matter where we are at in our writing careers. And so, Mark, thank you for the gift that you have given us today in both your expertise, the wisdom, and your heart. We, on behalf of all of the listeners of our Books and Such podcast, we want to say thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And let me say, I so appreciate you and everybody at Books and Such. You are such a wonderful, you're just great partners of ours. And I love the way you do operate your business and the way you go about your working with authors. You are a gift to us, and I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for those kind words, and I accept them on behalf of our amazing Books and Such team and our leader, Janet Grant, and this has been an outstanding conversation. So, listeners, you have joined me today as I have had this magnificent conversation with Mark Rice, publisher, senior marketing director at Kregel Publications. Mark, if folks want to find out more about Kregel, where would you have them stop by?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I mean, go to our website, obviously, and we have a customer service email, and I would say send whatever questions you have about anything and everything to our customer service email. It's very simple. It's customerservice@kregel.com. Customerservice@kregel.com. Also, if you want to submit us a manuscript, if you're interested in that, well, number one, I would say go to Books and Such because they're wonderful. That'd be my first thing I would say. But any publisher, and we do too, on our website, we have submission guidelines. So it just, a lot of people will think, well, I'm just going to send my manuscript to customerservice@kregel.com. Don't do that. It follows a process for a reason. That's why literary agents help you. But if you are interested in something like that, go to our website, kregel.com, find the submission standards, and follow those directions. And that's the way to do it.
That's super helpful, saving people time and energy. Wonderful. Well, friends, if you're listening, we'll have this information in the show notes. And if you know someone who has been interested in publishing, but yet they really feel like the process is mysterious, or they just would love to hear an industry expert's just the depth of knowledge that you received today, would you share this podcast episode with him? And if you want to find previous episodes of Books and Such, the podcast, you can go to booksandssuch.com, and we have a complete archive there. You can also subscribe on YouTube so that you will be the first to know when our next episode comes out. We release new episodes on the first Wednesday of every single month. We'd love for you to leave a comment or leave a rating so that more people can find us. Until next time, thank you for joining us on Books and Such, the podcast.